everybody. Welcome back to What's Mommy's Name? This is episode 3, and it's
episode 4.
Oh, it's episode 4. It's our final introduction video. Just letting you guys get to know us a little bit more before we just start making videos about random stuff that we feel like talking about. In this last one, we're just going to be talking about life since becoming a mom and how we have felt the past couple of years and what has led us kind of to this moment.
So for me, I think now that my oldest is 8 years old, I feel a lot more confident in my parenting and definitely have more of like a routine down as far as like everyday life.
Compared to what? Like, how was it before you started feeling that way? Was it more overwhelming?
Definitely more overwhelming. I went through a lot of changes after leaving their dad, as far as like where we were living, where we were staying. Well, technically we were, I guess you could say, couch surfing until we got a place of our own. But yeah, so that was overwhelming. There wasn't as much of a routine as far as like everyday life, but still, making things happen as far as like, the girls going through like potty training at the same time. And yeah, it was a difficult time period. But now, in the place that we are, we have a house, they're in school. So yeah, everything's a little bit more laid back.
They're a lot more independent too.
Right.
I can only imagine that makes it way easier when you don't have to constantly watch their every move.
Yeah.
So we could probably make a whole podcast episode about this, and maybe we will one day. But let's talk for a second about mental health since having our children.
Mental health. Well,
or let's keep it to the last couple of years. It won't line up for both of us necessarily with the stages of our children, but
right.
let's at least talk about that. So tell me the last 2 or 3 years for you, or whenever you got, yeah, that would be about right, when you got on your medication, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a couple years ago. I started having more anxiety than usual, and nothing in my own personal life was really like there were no drastic changes.
Mm-hmm.
There were like outside my own home life, like family emergency issues that I think kind of catapulted my anxiety. I think for me, the situations that were occurring also took me back to a time in my childhood where things felt as serious and as much of an emergency. There were a lot of themes that were the same. So going through that as an adult, having been through that as a child, and like seeing another perspective, and there's so many factors that come into play with that. But I think that was a major aspect of my anxiety kind of peaking. I don't think it had anything to do with being a mother necessarily, like not to do with my own children. It definitely had to do with outside situations that I couldn't change or I didn't have control over. It got to a point where I like went into this like rapid depersonalization, where I was fine one minute and then the next it like felt like I was in a dream, and my heart was beating like crazy. I felt like I was going crazy. I was having really scary, intrusive thoughts. Like my mind was like going a mile a minute. Every little noise would startle me, like physically make me jump. And there's so many things, but yeah, that's when I realized it got to a point where I need to do something about it. And at that time, there wasn't anything I could do besides like go to the hospital. Like, I don't feel right. What do I do? And they kind of
Like, you knew it wasn't just like a moment kind of thing. It was not going away.
Yeah, it
And
was not.
you
Yeah.
didn't feel okay in your body.
Yeah. I went to the hospital. They couldn't really do anything besides give me something that really just helped me fall asleep, because obviously when you're sleeping, you're not paying attention to what you're actually feeling.
It just had to sedate you.
Yeah. And it didn't go away when I woke up. It was like that for
Oh my God, that would be so scary.
days. Yes. It's like actually kind of hard to remember because there were so many symptoms and side effects from it that I don't know, like my sense of time from that is really off.
Yeah, like you felt like not in normal reality.
Yeah. I just remember like being curled up on my bed and then like thinking back, like, okay, who's taking care of the girls? But my boyfriend and my grandma were there at the time, so.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so luckily I had access to a great doctor that could see me and help prescribe some medication that, we could try to see if that helped alleviate the symptoms to where I could feel normal enough to leave the house, because there was no way I could otherwise. Like, I don't know how to describe it besides like just struggling, like in every sense of being, like existing, like the entire part of existence. It's like I was struggling to just be. Actually, I feel like it definitely was severe enough to the point where like I feel like I was going through psychosis, like hearing things that weren't there, and yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff. I kept smelling weird things, and yeah.
Okay, were you afraid? Because I always feel like if I went crazy, I would like be questioning, like, am I gonna survive this kind of thing?
No,
like,
yeah, that's like my biggest fear is losing my mind.
Yeah.
So feeling like that's
probably
happening,
a lot of our biggest fears.
yeah, but so feeling like I'm going through that, yeah, I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like, I don't, yeah. But I mean, you can't really help but just like try to get through that minute. So you
Yeah.
can't focus on like what else is gonna happen. Luckily, I had a good experience with my medication and it did help. So yeah, it's been a couple years of that.
How do you feel now being on the medication?
Normal. I feel like my normal self. But while knowing that I have generalized anxiety disorder, which basically just means like your baseline is anxiety. Like it's not you have anxiety about something. It's just it's there and you can't help it.
Yeah. Well, probably all of it has a root cause. It's not for nothing, but
right.
That's how they generalize it.
But it's like your, what's it called? Hippocampus or something? I don't know, but it's in constant fight or flight mode. And
so it's just always stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I agree, even though I don't think that's what I have, but yeah. Well, I'm glad the medication works for you. I feel like it definitely works for some people.
Yeah. I mean, I would like obviously love to be off of it, and I think I probably can. But
do you just have a fear of like, will this happen again if I stop taking it?
Yeah, because I know how bad it was, that I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna like that be the time that like breaks me. Like,
yeah.
I can't come back from it or something.
Yeah. I can understand that fear, especially because the reason you even started the medication, you were experiencing something super intense, and coming off of the medication isn't going to be easy. And then what if that also happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot to consider. I would say for me, in my mental health, I actually felt really okay after I had Ocean, which was only almost 3 years ago. Um, and then when I got pregnant with Kai, like I have previously mentioned, I started to experience a lot of anger issues and just like uncontrollable outbursts of like yelling and being upset. I mean, controllable in the sense that like I wasn't doing it out in public, but like at home, I just was like so, I couldn't hold it in. And after I had Kai, it went away a little bit, the anger, even though I'm still struggling with that. However, the pressure of having two kids just became like so much, and I felt like I didn't know how to balance both of them and be there for both of them, and I was feeling really like bad about myself because they both really needed me, and it just was very overwhelming. And it got to a point where I just felt like I guess in some ways didn't have the support that I needed, and my loneliness and frustration and being upset just caused me to like start crying a lot, feeling alone and depressed, and it just got to a point where I was like I really don't know if I can do this. Like this is too much for me. Maybe I'm a failure of a mom, maybe I'm just like a sissy. I don't know what it is, but I just remember leaving the house after I had been yelling at my husband. And I was like, I just need to get out of here. Like I need to get out of this house. I need to be alone. And I got in my car and I started driving. And I just remember like thinking, like, what if I just drive my car off this bridge? What if I just like, you know, I don't know. Like it was just like, and it felt so overwhelming though. Like I don't think I've ever been the type of person to like plan ending my life or anything. And
So
it would
that's out
definitely
of
be more of like an in the moment kind of thing.
right, but that's out of the norm for you to like have
Yes.
it get that far to be
Y-
thinking about that.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
that's not out of the norm for me.
Really?
Yeah, that's like every month.
Okay. 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 So I feel like I know what you mean when you say that. There's definitely times where
No,
it's
but it
like,
gets to the point where I'm like, I don't know, I'm taking it seriously. But like, it would have to be during that.
yeah, when you're feeling very emotional,
Right.
right? So I feel like there's a difference though between when I was driving down the street feeling that way versus like when I feel really depressed and sad on my period. Because I might think like, I hate myself, I'm disgusting, I don't want to be here, and like maybe I should just not exist kind of thing. And like you feel so much self disgust. That wasn't real. It wasn't like at me when I was feeling that way, if that makes sense. In that moment when I was feeling too much, it was I my life is too much for me. Like instead of like usually around my period, I'm like self-loathing, kind of depressed and hate it, like hatred towards myself. This was like I cannot deal with being a mom and I
Mm-hmm.
can't deal with doing this, in this capacity, like it's too much for just me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of like what put me over the edge, and then not feeling like I had the support that I needed. And yeah, that's what brought me to that point, was just being overwhelmed with my responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like I wasn't able to properly carry them out, I don't know, or take care of
So
things.
it was at that point that you felt like you should at least try medication.
Yeah. Well, I remember I called you
Mm-hmm.
because you had already shared with me that you were taking something and that it was working for you. And I also just felt like you were a safe person to call because of the fact that you'd already been through something very like traumatizing to you. And um I I needed someone to talk to in that moment because I was just feeling like so like out of control and like I didn't have anybody to turn to. And that's when we decided that I should go to the clinic in Grand Rapids, which I actually really like and would recommend to people that are in need. It's called Pine Rest in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's kind of like a place you can go in emergency situations, probably not even just emergency situations, but they have a place you can go if you're feeling like a mental health emergency.
Right. It's like a walk-in.
Yeah, a walk-in. They questioned me and, you know, kind of just made like a very quick, you know, diagnosis sort of to like at least prescribe me something. And yeah, I left there with I think it was like Zoloft and some hydroxyzine. And yeah, and then I started taking it and immediately like I don't know how to describe it. When I first started the medication, and I think at this point it was just the hydroxyzine because the Zoloft hadn't been filled yet, and I felt so relaxed. That stuff is pretty strong. But I felt so relaxed and like almost in between sleep and being awake.
Yeah, I told you I had to take 100 milligrams.
I can't even imagine.
Every 6 hours just to not feel what I was feeling.
That's insane. That is so much. I literally fall asleep off of just the 25 milligrams. So, yeah, I took it and I was feeling just like so good in the sense that I wasn't feeling all of that overwhelming stuff. It felt like the room I was in was quiet, you know, and I was just there physically. Like I could do stuff without like all of the other thoughts, you know, or anxiety. And the Zoloft was really good at making me not feel anxious, but it made me very apathetic. And I was like laying on the couch all day, not cleaning, not doing anything. And I was like, okay, this probably isn't how I should be on this. Like, yes, I'm much more calm, but
so would you say that you were very sensitive to the side effects of the medications?
Oh, I've always been a person that's sensitive to drugs of any kind.
So the cons,
literally anything.
Right. So then the cons outweighed the pros for
Correct. One of them, I can't remember which one, was giving me auditory hallucinations, and not in like a creepy way. It was like at night when we'd be getting the kids ready for bed, or even during the day. If
Would
I
you hear,
heard
like, music?
No, I would, if I heard the white, we have a sound soother that we use for the kids. So if that was on, it would start to make it sound like not just white noise. Like it would start to sound like a maybe kind of like a song, or it could be just something that wasn't normal, something that I'm like, no, I shouldn't be hearing that. Or like I remember being in our downstairs bathroom one day, and I don't even remember if the TV was on, or it was like there was a part in the show maybe where there was music and it kept repeating over and over again, but I could physically feel the sensation of hearing it in my ear, like I was really hearing it.
When I started the medication, those types of side effects were happening from that too, but any of that
was easier for you than what you were experiencing.
Yes, I was okay with it. Like being woken up by what sounded like a loud clap.
Okay, I've read about that online though. That's a real thing.
I know. And
it's not just from the medication though.
Oh, well,
no. You can have that even without it.
Well, for me, it was happening because of the medication.
Oh, okay.
But, that and like hearing bells all the time. That
really?
Was weird. But it was like a nice sound, so I didn't care.
I get very anxious. It was causing me anxiety that I was hearing stuff, because I remember one day when I had to watch my brother at my house, I was putting him to sleep and my mom brought over her sound soother, which was way different sounding. And it started to sound like this weird, like chanting. I don't even know. It was like making me feel crazy. And I was like,
you know what
I cannot.
This makes me think of? Remember, Requiem.
Yeah, Requiem. Oh my God.
Requiem. No.
I thought it's a R. Requiem.
No, Requiem.
Are you sure?
Yes. Requiem. Doesn't that sound not right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hold on, I'm Googling
play
it.
some, like, have somebody else say it so we know.
Oh, Requiem. Yeah, Requiem.
See?
Requiem for a Dream. That
Okay,
is
let
such
me
a
start. Let
weird
me start
word.
this
Oh
over
my
because this is too
God.
embarrassing. Okay, hold on. This makes me think of that movie. This makes me think of Requiem for a Dream. The mom that she goes on those diet pills and she
Oh,
starts
yeah.
hallucinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are very real things that come with taking medications, but sometimes the pros do outweigh the cons.
For me, it didn't quite because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was causing me more anxiety and I was almost like fearful of it because nobody wants to feel like they're crazy and I don't want to be hearing things that are not there. In the end, I still feel like I always have like too many like physical symptoms from the medication, like whether it's my blood pressure or my heart rate or something. And then I don't like feeling that way. Like I don't want to physically feel not normal. I don't know. And there was lots of times that I felt like it still wasn't quite what I needed for like my anger. And of course, a lot of it depends on like your circumstances in life. Like a medication isn't just going to make things better. Like I feel like it numbed me for long enough that I could like get through a time period where I
Right.
needed my kids to get
Well,
older
and
so
you
things could feel
weren't
easier.
just like your baseline wasn't angry. Like
Right.
you had very real feelings about situations. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so
so
maybe that's why they weren't working for
right.
me.
I mean, with something like that, it's more, obviously like having therapy is
Yeah.
can be a lot more helpful than medications.
Yeah. Well, I have the more the medications were not working for me, the more I kept thinking and trying to look back and see like how am I in these certain situations? What's leading me to feel this way? And I do think I have a lot of anxiety, especially since becoming a mother. Like I probably had it before, like even when I was a kid and I just didn't have the what is it, forethought or something to like know that or think about it in that way. And now that I'm an adult, I can realize those things about myself and having anxiety is what leads me to being angry. So I'll have anxiety about a situation and if it causes a physical reaction in me and my only solution in that moment if I feel threatened or whatever is to just like yell. You know what I mean? And so that's where my outbursts were coming from. I think if I was on a medication that was like strictly for anxiety, maybe I would have a little bit better results while also doing therapy. But it seems like it's pretty difficult to get that. My psychiatrist did not want to give me like Xanax or anything like that.
I mean,
And
I wouldn't recommend that anyway.
really,
There's so many alternatives for anxiety
I
than
guess
than
I understand her concern because people like get addicted to it, but all the other medications that are out there right now for anxiety are off-brand uses. Like it's not even what the medication is for, and that just means you might have more side effects than just having reduced anxiety.
well, I don't know. I would argue that addiction is a worse side effect.
I guess. I mean, being dependent, but not everybody that takes Xanax goes and takes half their prescription in a day. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, coming from a family that
My mom took it for years and she was on the lowest dose for years.
right.
Yeah.
Well, for me, see, it's just a different experience. I come from a family of addicts, so
Yeah.
the risk that's there
Yeah.
because it's hereditary,
Yeah.
like it's not worth it.
Yeah. That's true. I think like my mom's been on it, my aunt's been on it, and my grandma has been on it. So like for me, it felt like, oh, okay, then maybe I should be on it if it worked for them. But no. So, anyways, I just got prescribed gabapentin, which I actually kind of like. It does help me in ways to feel a little bit more like in a better mood almost. Like I feel like it lifts my mood a little bit, but it also does take away some of the anxiety. And then I just like to use hydroxyzine to help me go to bed at night if I can't.
But ultimately, these experiences that we've had that affected our mental health also led us in this direction to start this podcast, because as mothers and as women and as people in general, there's a point in your life where you feel like you haven't explored all of your possibilities.
Well, I feel like too, we were hanging out so much ever since like last year. And I feel like in our conversations, we both always end up talking about like how we want more out of life. We want to be doing something besides just like working a regular job that we might have to stay at for years. You know, like we wanted something more fulfilling, something to be creative with, something to look forward to, something that was fun to do and that could lift our spirits and make us feel good in a certain way. And I feel like we kept like thinking of ideas, but like nothing was like good enough to pursue. And I don't remember who. I think I had mentioned a podcast a couple of times.
I feel like
and
I
you
wasn't
kind
sure.
of were like not
like
giving me like the I want to do it. And then all of a sudden that one day, I don't remember why. Maybe just because we had already been talking about ideas and that was like the only one that seemed to, I don't know, or maybe I pushed it. I don't know.
We thought about other things. It wasn't settled. You did bring it up a couple times and I was like, maybe this.
Yeah,
maybe.
you like wanted something different.
Right. I wasn't sure. But well, really, because you had experience already, like talking in front of a camera. Like I don't do that. So
yeah,
that
I just like talking to my phone.
This is definitely out of my comfort zone. But it's conversations that we'd be having anyways, even without an audience. So
right, exactly. And so we finally decided to go for it. And me being me, I was like, we need to do this right now. So I started looking at like equipment and watching videos about like what to use. And then I waited till Amazon Prime Day to get some of this stuff. Yeah. And then we just slowly, it took us like 2 or 3 months, right? To like finally get it going. We were kind of like
probably
waiting for different things. We were
months.
looking for furniture. We had to set up the wall.
I have a post that I put on our TikTok that shows like all of our messages and the planning that went into starting this. So
yeah, and so it took longer than I wanted because I like to do everything now when I feel like doing it. But it all turned out really good, I feel like, with how it came together. And now we're at this point where we're just trying to think of ideas now, is like what direction we want to take this and what are we going to talk about. And I know for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I've been really excited every Wednesday to like come and do this. Like I will not let anything get in the way of it.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously, like we said, the main focus would be exploring our identities. So in that regard, where do you want to be in the future? What do you want to be like?
If I'm like being honest, okay, this sounds really silly. And I don't think it's just about like fame or I had a desire growing up even to like be a singer or an actress or just like in that world. So I don't know if that's really necessarily my goal, but I want this to be something, if that makes sense. And I feel like
even podcast aside, what do
I see? Yeah. Where do I see myself? Oh, I thought you meant in this. Not working for someone else.
Yeah.
Having the means to take care of myself and my kids if I need to, and I want to provide them with a home where they can grow up and come back to, and I want a big old yard where we can have like dogs and cats and go outside and have privacy and run around and do literally whatever we want. I don't know. I want to like give them all the things that I didn't have growing up and experiences that even now like I wish I was experiencing, like quads in the backyard and fishing, hunting, I don't know, whatever it is. Like I like that lifestyle of being outside more in nature, growing plants, and yeah, I guess that's where I hope to be, and not having to work for the rest of my life in an office. What do you picture for yourself? Or also this, what do you picture for work and your life with your family?
I mean, I'd love to still be doing makeup. Really, I mean, I'm obviously more interested in like life experiences than like work, even though some people like really love their jobs and that's where they feel the most sense of self, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like if we become successful in what we're pursuing, you'll be the one like traveling the world with your kids. Well, I'll be like at home in my backyard with some chickens and goats and stuff.
I already try to do that. I mean, I've always loved traveling, and I'm trying to give my girls the same experiences, just more of that. And I'd love to be at a point where I just feel better about myself, I guess, and have more energy and be able to show another side of myself to my daughters, having them see me doing things that I enjoy.
Okay.
Versus, taking care of a house. And
yeah, that makes sense. Well, I guess that is it, because that brings us to where we are right now, sitting here talking to you guys. I feel like an announcement for next week's video is premature because we're not set on one yet.
I mean, when it comes to identity, it is going to be a lot of our different interests in how they've changed and new things that we find interesting. And
yeah, so like things will just come up and we'll just talk about them as we go. So yeah, I'm excited for next week because it's going to be something new, and I'm not aware of what it's going to be at this moment. So it'll be a surprise for me too. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you have watched this far, we appreciate it. I don't know. I'm just excited to keep going because every week I look forward to this.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
See you next week. Bye.